What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the strategy pattern, which is one of my favorite patterns to use because we all have used it or we've seen it before. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So let me first tell you what the Gang of Four defines it as, and I will tell you where you've seen this before. So they define it as define a family of algorithms, encapsulate each one of them, and make them interchangeable. A strategy lets the algorithm vary independently from clients that use it. So imagine you're checking out in a big box store. You're checking out, but they always have different options to pay. Now these different options could be a credit card, a PayPal, or Bitcoin. It doesn't really matter. But every one of those options are called strategies because you encapsulate. There's different algorithms that go into paying with a credit card than with PayPal, and same with Bitcoin. They all have different strategies. So you encapsulate each strategy, write the algorithm for that credit card or for that PayPal or for that Bitcoin, and then you use that. That's called the strategy, and that's what they're saying here. Although we're not going to be building a checkout process. Sorry about that, guys. But we are going to be messing around with the logger that we've created in I think one of the first videos for this series. Oh, by the way, this is the last video for this series. So yeah, it's been great so far. Anyways, so this logger. So right now we only have one strategy, and that's basically just logging this on the message, logging that to the terminal. So if we run this application right now, I need to go in here, strategy, and then node dot. You see we get well, you need to look at my index, so that way you know what's happening. So we do have a logger.log, and we're just logging out hello world, hi world, and yo world, and basically it's going to grab the timestamp and log out those messages, the timestamp and the message. But it doesn't really give us an option, any more options, by the way, any more options to how we want it to log, right? So if we didn't want the date, we just wanted hello world, hi world, and yo world, we could create a strategy for that. If we wanted to log it out to a file, we could create a strategy for that as well. And that's what we're going to be doing, using this and creating a strategy for those kind of stuff and going forward with it. So this time we're going to be creating a configuration file. So let's go create a file right here. We're going to call it config.js or JSON, sorry. And in here we're going to be setting our what to call it, like when you first start the app. I forgot what the word is, Jesus. But when you first your initiation, yes, your default strategy. There you go. We're going to be setting up our default strategy. So logs, and we're going to call this one a strategy. Oops. Strategy. I think I spelled that right. Yeah. And our default strategy is going to be a no date strategy. Okay, we're gonna save this right now. So going back into index now we're gonna have 3, 4, and 5. When we log this out, it's not gonna have dates. It's just gonna say hello world, hi world, and yo world. And then we're also going to be over here going on. We're gonna actually change logger dot change. We're gonna create a method called change strategy, because remember we could run this dynamically during runtime. So that's the great thing about this. And we're gonna dynamically change this strategy to we're gonna make it log it to a file, and we're gonna do the same exact things right here. Log this out, copy, paste. So right now, by default, when we run this again later on, it's going to have no dates. Just log this out, and then we're going to change it dynamically right here to a file. So, and then we're gonna see 3 files pop up with hello world, hi world, and yo world. That's our this is what we're going to be creating today. So let's create a new file called the logger or log strategy.js. I'm hoping I'm spelling strategy right. And we're going to create a class called log strategy. And we're going to instantiate anything in this class. We're going to be adding static methods to this class. So, and we're going to just export module.exports. It's going to equal log strategy. Okay. So there's going to be 4 strategies that we're going to do. So the first one, I'm going to do static. And we're going to be doing a no date one, which is a default one. I'm just copy this, copy, paste, paste, paste. Okay. And this is going to take them some things. So it's just like that, just like that. All of these are. Okay, and the second one is going to be a to the file. We're going to be logging it to a file. Next one is going to be the default, well, not the default, but to the console, just like we've been doing with the logger. So this was going to be called to console. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. And then we're going to have a last one, and this last one is going to be none. And I will get into that later on. Let's start off with no date first. No date is going to take a timestamp, even though we're not going to use it, but all of them are literally going to take in timestamp and a message. Stamp, message. I'm gonna just copy this, except for the none, because well, we're not gonna be doing nothing with the none yet. We're going to log out just the message, just like that. And down here, we're gonna be, writing it to a file. But in order for that, we're gonna actually. Why am I stuttering or like? Sorry about that, guys. In order for us to write to a file, we do need to incorporate some modules. So var path is going to require path, and then var, we're going to be destructuring from the fs module, because fs has a lot of methods we could use. But from the fs module, we need a pen file. And we're going to set that equal to require to fs. Control save. All right, now we can actually start messing around with the to file. So var file name. I mean, if you've been looking at my videos, guys, you should know how to do this already. Path.join. And we're going to join __ dir name, get our current directory. And we're going to put it in logs.txt. And we're going to append file, the file name. What do we want to append it to, or what do we want append? So we're going to append the text, timestamp, and the message. And then we're going to do a new line for every one of them, because we are appending it. So by appending it, by default, it does it on the same line. So we got to just tell it, hey, when you append this type of file, just make a new line. And if there's an error, we're going to do if error. We're going to log out error writing to file. And then we're going to also just give out the error. Console log the error. God. All right. Now to console is literally the same thing as the logger.js. I'm just going to grab this, copy, paste. All right, so we're done, and I'm going to explain why we have timestamp even though we're not using it here, but all of them should have that. And this static none, I'm telling you right now, it's basically a strategy for nothing. If you don't want to log in anything, we're going to use this strategy called none, and you're not going to see any logs. But this timestamp and message, why should everyone have them? Because the reason why is because everyone should wait, what? All right, start over. The reason why everyone should have this timestamp and message is because they're receiving the payload or all the information that was sent to the method or to any method. Like think about the credit card and PayPal. They receive the every information the user put in, right? But PayPal and credit cards and Bitcoin, some of them might not use that information, but at least they have that information, and that's what we want. We want them to have the information so that way they could do whatever they want with that information. If they need it, great. If they don't, then they don't have to use it, period. So that's why we're having it like this, because you never know which one's going to actually need it or use it later on. All right, so now we're done with the strategies. Now we're going to go inside of logger.js and modify this to actually dynamically choose what strategy to use. So in this one, up above, we're going to import, we do need the log strategy. So var log strategy, it's going to equal, I should have just done the common. Yeah, I should have just done that, but whatever. Log strategy. All right, so we're going to instantiate, meaning every time the logger runs, we're going to set it to a strategy. So this dot strategy is going to equal to log strategy dot, and we're going to be setting it to the one we've seen it before, the to console, right? Because this one right here is a to console. So to console. All right, and then now we need to, every time they want to change, we do need to create a method for change strategy, right? Because we do change it in runtime. See, change strategy. So I'm just copy this. Where is it at? Right here. So change strategy. We are passing it in a new strategy. And we're going to just make this dot strategy equal log strategy, the new strategy, just like that. And instead of counting logging this, we're going to be using the strategy to do this. So this dot strategy, and then they all take in the same thing, timestamp. And this is another reason we're always dumping in the load, and that's why all the methods have timestamp and message. Just like that. All right. Now let's try to run it. Let's see what we get. I'm breathing hard because we're probably gonna get we always get an error. Sorry about that, guys. Cannot find module log strategy, and this is in loader. Oh wait, what? All right, let me see. I forgot to do the control save. All right, now let's try it. All right, you see this right here? We get our to console strategy running, because remember in the first part right here is a to console, and then we change it dynamically to file, and now if you see right here, we get logs.txt, and we see our logs. That's pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. But we are going to be using this config file to actually determine what strategy we use, or at least the strategy for by default, right? So instead of actually setting a strategy right here, an actual strategy, we're gonna just bring in our config file, config.json. Okay, and in here we're gonna, in the constructor, when we instantiate, we do want a strategy to be instantiated, and we're gonna set this by default. If they don't have any strategy defined, we're gonna just default that to console. right? But instead of doing dot to console, we're going to just put in the strategy. Just like that. All right. Down here, when we do instantiate it, since we are grabbing it from our config, we're sending it to the constructor. Down here, we're going to be using that. So config dot logs dot strategy. Now it's going to be pulling the strategy from our configuration file, which is right here. And right now it's at no date, right? So we actually run this one more time back over here. Hopefully it works, and it doesn't. Did it? Oh yeah, it did work. Look at this. Whew. See, now it's a default to no date. So now we have our logs without dates. But if you look at the logs again, it does print out again because we printed it out again. So it's just appended to the file. So what I really love about this log strategy pattern, it's built to grow. All right. So if we wanted to add additional strategies to our application, later we could do so without ever having to touch the logger.js file. So we're going to be creating one more just for fun. And this is going to be Morse code. Okay. Let's go to loggers right here and create another. Oh, wait, where is it at? Oh, right here. And we're going to create another strategy called Morse code. Up above, let's get rid of this. Okay, so static Morse to Morse code. Morse code. I keep on saying Morris. It's Morse code. And like we've been doing, the timestamp and the message. And we do need to install an Npm module for this. Like I said, this is a strategy. We're basically done with the strategy pattern, guys. And if you wanted to skip to the end for the pros and cons, you can. This is just for fun. So that way you could realize that you could actually do this dynamically and add it without even touching the logger.js code whatsoever. You don't have to touch this no more. So in here, we're going to install an npm module called npm install Morse, just like that. And we should have a package.json right here, somewhere around here. We don't, do we? Oh, I never saved it, but it's saved in the local machine, sorry. So in here, we do need to add that Morse code. So, and it's called Morse. Sorry, I have something in my throat. So var Morse code is going to equal, we're going to use a Morse.encode. We're going to encode the message. And we're going to just log that Morse code. Control save. Now you could display this however you want, but I'm gonna just do it to run it by default. So instead of to no date, we're gonna do to Morse code right here. We're gonna just change this to Morse code. Now if we run this one more time, you're gonna see our Morse code right here. This is our Morse code, and for the love of God, I did it again. And actually, we could actually change this to let's say no date. No date. We're changing our strategy. Now we run it one more time. We get our Morse code and the no date version. It's pretty awesome, guys. This strategy pattern is extremely awesome, and you've used it so many times without even realizing, probably. Now you know what a strategy pattern, and trust me, guys, this is, if you're gonna learn any design pattern, you should learn this one. All right, because this is the one that's mostly used. All right, let's go to the pros and cons, and when would you want to use this? Even though you already know when, but let's go over some again. Pros and cons. A family of algorithms can be defined as a class hierarchy and can be used interchangeably to alter application behavior without changing its architecture. By encapsulating the algorithm separately, new algorithms complying with the same interface can be easily introduced. The application can switch strategies at runtime. We've seen that. We saw that. Strategy enables the clients to choose the required algorithm without using a switch statement or a series if-else statements. Data structures used for implementing the algorithm are completely encapsulated in strategy classes. Therefore, the implementation of an algorithm can be changed without affecting the context class. Now for the cons. The application must be aware of all the strategies to select the right one for the right situation. That's pretty much common sense. If you don't have it, then it's not gonna know what's going on. Context and the strategy classes normally communicate through the interface specified by the abstract strategy base class. Strategy base class must expose interface for all the required behaviors, which some concrete strategy classes might not implement. In most cases, the application configures the context with the required strategy object. Therefore, the application needs to create and maintain two objects in place of one. All right, those are all the pros and cons. Let's go to the wins. So for the wins, use the strategy pattern when you want to use different variants of an algorithm within an object and be able to switch from one algorithm to another during runtime. So we actually saw this in the demo. This pattern lets you indirectly alter the object's behavior at runtime by associating it with different sub-objects within which can perform specific subtasks in different ways. I'll give you an example of that in the actual demo code. So yeah, use the strategy when you have a lot of similar classes that only differ in the way they execute some behavior. So for this one, this pattern lets you extract their varying behaviors into a separate class hierarchy and combine the original classes into one. And this will reduce duplicate code. Use the pattern to isolate the business logic of a class from the implementation details of algorithms that may not be as important in the context of that logic. So for this one, this pattern lets you isolate the code, internal data, and dependencies of various algorithms from the rest of the code. Various clients get a simple interface to execute the algorithms and switch them at runtime. Just like for the logger class, for the client class, it has a simple interface, right? You're just passing it, you're dumping in a payload, which is all this data, and you let the strategy define which one to use, or you're actually defining it, but you're just dumping the data into this one instance, and you'll get the right data back, depending on the strategy that you chose. So use the pattern when your class has a massive conditional operator that switches between different variants of the same algorithm. So for this last one, this pattern lets you do away with such a conditional by extracting all algorithms into separate classes, all of which implement the same interface. The original object delegates execution to one of those objects instead of implementing all variants of the algorithm. So we saw that when we did we all included the same payload into all the same strategies. Not the same, but we dumped all the same payload into all the different strategies. But guys, that is it for this video, and this is the actual last video of this series. I did have fun doing this series with you guys, the design pattern series, and comment down below where would you want to use this pattern. If you liked it, give it a like, and please consider subscribing if you haven't. And thank you guys, I really do appreciate the support you've given me and all the time that you've not wasted, but I'm gonna say all the time that you've invested into actually learning these kind of things, if you did learn. But thank you guys for taking time out of your day to watch these videos, and I hope we get to do more things. I'm actually thinking about doing a data structure series, so comment down below if you want me to do that. And thanks guys, again, thanks, I really do appreciate it. I will see you in the next video, or in the next series actually. Bye.